Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to look at how to install the AWS SDK for PHP. So SDK stands for Software Development Kit. We're going to learn how to install this for PHP so we can interact with AWS programmatically via PHP. So first thing you need to do is go into the AWS Management Console, and I want you to go into EC2, and we're going to launch a new instance from scratch. So use the Amazon Linux AMI and just go ahead and hit next. And then this is really important. For the IAM role, you're going to need to use the S3 access role that we created a couple of lectures ago, because you are going to need this EC2 instance to have access to S3. Another thing I want to show you is just down here, if you click on the advanced details, if you haven't done my Solutions Architect course and this is new to you, I just wanted to show you that you can actually pass what's called bootstrap scripts here. And the way you do that is you do basically a character configuration called shebang, which is the number sign followed by an exclamation mark, and then the path to your bash interpreter, which in this case would be bin/bash. So if you add that line and then hit enter, anything you write underneath this will be run as bash command at a root level when you first start up this EC2 instance. So if we type in here yum update -y, that will automatically pass this bash command to update the kernel and to patch everything. What we'll also do is we'll go yum install httpd 24, so that's version 2.4 of Apache -y, and we'll also go in and we'll start the HTTPD service. So we'll go service HTTPD start. Okay, so basically if this bash script works, then essentially our AMI or our EC2 instance will be updated with all the latest security patches, and then we'll install Apache 2.4 and we'll start the Apache service. So let's go ahead and just hit next, and here we can leave everything as default, and we'll just call this PHP SDK web server. Okay, and then you just want to select either create a new security group or an existing security group. If you do create a new one, just make sure that SSH and HTTP are open either to your particular IP address or open to all addresses, so o.o.o.o/o, and go ahead and hit next, and we'll go ahead and launch this, and we'll use my existing key pair. Okay, so that is now launching. While that launches, let's open up a new tab in our browser, and what we want to search for is AWS PHP SDK. And if we go here and we'll click on the top link, so it's aws.amazon.com/SDK for PHP, and just go across to the right hand side about install. Okay, if we have a look at this page, basically this tells you how to install the AWS SDK for PHP, and essentially we're just cutting and pasting these two commands into our terminal window when we're ready. And the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to type in PHP latest version, and if you click on the PHP download links, you'll be able to see what the latest current stable version is. So it's PHP 5.6. So just make a note of that. If it's 5.7 or even version 6 when you're doing the course, just remember, note down the version, and you'll need it when we go to install PHP on our EC2 instance. So I'm going to go back to viewing my instances, and we can see now that my web server is ready. So I'm going to cut and paste the IP address. I'm going to go across to my terminal window, and now I'm just going to type in SSH ec2-user at, and then my IP address -i, and then the name of your private key. So mine is joomla_key.pem. And there we go, I'm able to connect. So now I'm just going to elevate my privileges to root, and I'm going to clear the screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is run a yum update, and we'll be able to see if our bootstrap script has worked. So we're going to go yum update -y, and you can see there are no packages to update. We've already applied our update. We can also then check if HTTPD has been installed just by saying service HTTPD status. and we can see not only has it been installed, but it is also running. So what we need to do now is we need to go over to our var www.html directory, and we'll clear the screen. We're going to need to do a few things. So we're going to now need to install the latest version of PHP. We're also going to need to install GitHub. So we're going to type in yum install, and we're going to say PHP 5.6. So if you remember, my latest version was 5.6, so I would say 5.6. If your latest version is 5.7, you'd write 5.7, etc. And then we'll also want git and then -y. Okay, so that's going ahead and installing PHP and Git, and that's been done successfully. Now what we want to do is we'll just restart the HTTPD service, and we do that by saying service HTTPD restart, just because we have installed PHP. And now if we want to check that PHP is running, we just type in nano, we'll call it test.php. We're going to write a quick little PHP script here, so we just do open brackets, question mark, and then PHP, and then we want PHP info, open and close brackets, and semicolon, and then we want to close out PHP. So that's all you need to type in there, and just hit Control X, hit yes, and hit enter. And now if we go across back to our browser and we go to our IP address /test.php, we should get this page. So now that we know Apache is running, it's working with PHP, it's loading the latest php.ini, it's loading PHP version 5.6, and it is definitely working. So let's go back to our browser and we'll clear the screen again. So now what we want to do, go back to our terminal window, not our browser. And now what we want to do is, if we do go back to our browser, go back to the installation of AWS SDK for PHP, and the first thing we're going to do is install Composer. So we want to cut and paste this line of code, and you want to make sure you are in the var www.html directory. So I'm already in there, but just in case you're not, just make sure you go to cd var www.html, then run this command. And so it runs pretty fast, and then you can go back to your browser, and then you want to cut and paste the second command, which will basically run the Composer command to install the latest version of the SDK, which is currently version 3. So we'll hit enter. This can take a little bit of time. Okay, so that's been done, and the way you can tell if it's been successful is if you type in ls, you see a whole bunch of files that have been created. So we've got our composer.json, our composer.log, composer.far, and then we've got our vendor. And if we just go into our vendor directory, you'll be able to see there's a file called autoload. So we'll type in nano autoload.php, and that's basically you need this autoload to be executed for any PHP page that's calling the SDK. You always need to include a link to this path. So we'll come out and exit, and we'll go to cd ... we'll go back a directory, and we're going to clear our screen. And if we come back here and go back to our browser, you'll see just what I said there. So require Composer's autoloader. So anytime you're using the AWS SDK in your PHP page, you're always going to need to require the vendor /autoload.php file on that page. Now I've made it easier for you guys, and I've created my own connection string or script. So let's go back to terminal and let's get our code from GitHub. So what we want to do is we just want to type in here git clone, then https, and then it's github.com/acloudguru/s3, and hit enter. And then that's going to download our code. If we type in ls/s3, you'll see it's in the s3 directory. So if we go into cd s3 and we have a look at our connect to AWS, so type in nano connect to aws.php. This is my own custom connection string, and you'll see here again is our require /var /www/html vendor /autoload.php, and then it also sets the version for the version for the AWS S3 client. So it's just the latest. It's using the latest SDK, and then we're also setting our region in here. We're just saying US East 1. So I'm going to come out. And that's it. Basically, because this EC2 instance has a role assigned to it, we don't need to store any credentials whatsoever, and our code should now just work. So in the next lecture, we're going to go through the code and what it does. I may have mentioned before that in the next lecture, it will look slightly different. The code might look slightly different. Don't worry though, you have the most updated version of the code from GitHub. You've just downloaded it, so you don't need to go in and change any code. It should just be able to work for you. Okay, that's it guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.